This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. 4:05. We have any public speak?
So we have one member in the audience right now. Ben, if you want to speak, will you just use the raise your hand function?
I guess not.
Yeah.
Okay, we table the approval of the minutes. I haven't seen any new ones. And we just move on to the updates to the Aquifer Protection Overlay District bylaw. Patty, I guess you taking a lead on that?
Sure, I'm happy to do that. So I had 4 things I'm hoping we can cover today. And Allison, part of this was inspired by your saying the accessory dwelling unit's already allowed by right. I was like, what? So I wanted to look at the mapping for the aquifer. Then I wanted to look at the table of use regulations and what is allowed in the R40 and R80, which I think are the 2 districts in the zone 2, and look at what's permitted or what's allowed, because within the bylaw, you know, there's sort of permitted, prohibited, and then restricted based on special permit. And so I thought it would be really helpful to look at the table of use. Oh, is someone trying to speak?
Oh, hang on. No, there's people that are joining, but I don't see any raised hands. For some reason, everybody's being joined as a contributor when they should just be a viewer, so I have to change that whenever they join. But so for our audience, we have a few. If you want to say something, use the raise your hand function. It's a little hand at the bottom of the screen. It looks like this. So Patty, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So after the table of use regulations and really seeing some of the things that are allowed in these 2 districts, then look at the opening of the ordinance, the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, where I have some thoughts, and the definitions. And just if we can cover those 4 things today, I think we'll be doing good. Does that make sense? Does that sound okay to everyone?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So if I can share, I'm not used to this habitat, but it says select window. Oh, it's not giving me the option to show the zoning or mass mapper stuff that I have.
Do you have it in a Chrome tab?
I have it in a, you know, it's in an internet tab. Is that why it won't let me show it?
So I have the option of Chrome tabs, a window, I have 2 different windows going on, or my entire screen. If you're not able to manage it and you want to email it to me, I can put it up.
Oh, I can do entire screen. Maybe that would work. I'll try that. Oh, but that's all of you.
If you don't have the document open, yeah.
Okay, let me
You
see.
see window, it's not in one of your windows.
Okay, now I have it, but then I go back to you and it still is telling me. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, so I can download the zoning map, I guess, and do it that way. I wanted to show you on Mass Mapper too, because I don't know that the overlay district in the zoning map is, it just makes me wonder if it's up to date.
Okay, so I can pull up Mass Mapper quickly, and put on the aquifer layer.
I have the zoning map up now. So do you want to share Mass Mapper and then we can look at the zoning map?
Yeah, I can toggle back and forth if needed. Now, do you want just the sole source aquifer layer on?
What I had was a zone 1, zone 2, and then I had them dissolved and the points too on Mass Mapper.
Yeah, that is beyond my.
Okay, so why don't I have those, where'd the map go? It's not showing. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know this habitat at all. Let's see. Yeah, all it's seeing are my.
Johanna, did
Mass
you?
Mapper on my computer, and
Or do you want to
show
just
some of
pull up
those
the
layers?
zoning map? Don't worry about Mass Mapper. We'll just, I wanted to just confirm that it's only R40 and R80 in the zone 2.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Okay, so. Are we all seeing?
Yes.
Yep.
So, yep, it looks like it hangs
Gotcha.
over like a tiny bit into 35, but I think the intent probably was to follow that line more or less.
Yeah, and I would say that the layer on Mass Mapper on the western boundary, it goes almost up to South Street and then cuts across sort of the Mountain View School property. So it looks like there's part missing on this map.
It's like really hard to see, but I can try and change the symbology.
Yeah, if you go into the you're pretty handy with that. Yeah, so
No.
you see how it goes up much further in the western side? This
Yeah.
is even more than what I was seeing on the zone 2 layer in Mass Mapper. So we might want to just make sure that the city has the latest overlay for the zone 2 or the, sole source, whatever. It's not anywhere in the zoning called sole source.
Yeah, I know it has the zone 1 and zone 2.
Yeah.
And the Mass Mapper has the recharge areas.
If you go into that and just put in zone, no, just if you do zone, it'll show. You can do zone 2, zone 2's dissolved, and then zone 1's dissolved. Yeah. So see how different that?
Yeah, that's definitely more. So what does dissolved mean?
I'm not sure. I think one's a point, like you can get the wells. It'll give you the circle around the wells too.
Yeah, because when you were saying dissolved earlier, I was like, I don't know how to do that. But if it's just a layer, I gotcha.
I think there's a polygon layer for each individual well, and then the dissolve layer is like dissolving all those polygons, so it shows the entire area that's covered by wellhead protection zone 2.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's what that's what it looks to be showing.
This is even weirder, Allison. This is not what I was seeing. I think that's pulling in the zone 2 for the Maloney well.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Mass Mapper's calling that all the zone twos, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, that area to the north is the Maloney well.
Okay. All right. Well, I think at least we confirm that the sole source part is R40 and R80 mostly,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because what I wanted to do is go through the table of use regulations and look at the R40 and R80 to see exactly what is allowed.
Not within the, not like specific to the Aquifer Protection District, but like just the use tables generally.
Well, the use tables for those districts, R40 and R80.
Yes, that, yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
what I meant. That's
Yeah.
it's getting at. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to do that. All right. I had it highlighted. So single family detached dwelling, that's already, I mean, in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District.
Mm-hmm.
Accessory dwelling unit is not, so we might want to make that addition. And then single family detached and accessory dwelling then have these septic system requirements where there isn't city sewer available. And that's based on Title V. So that's something we, I guess, would add to the Aquifer Protection Overlay District, right? Because it has to be by right. And we could talk about, you know, aside from septic, if there's any impervious constraints we want to put on it. But Allison, when I was looking at that section 8.5 for accessory dwelling unit, it looked like there's already pretty good control. You know, it talks about 1 off-street parking space, but what I'm not clear about is what all the driveway stuff means in there.
This,
Yeah.
this, what you're seeing right now.
E, yep, E, you got it.
So this parking space shall be constructed of materials consistent with the existing driveway and shall have vehicular access to the driveway. I'm guessing that's basically just saying don't park on the lawn, like a parking space on the lawn doesn't count. It has to be like an actual, in theory, if you had a paved driveway, a gravel driveway wouldn't suffice. I don't know that we would really nail someone for that, but I think it was probably to get away from people just parking on lawns.
Okay, and then F, does that mean they could construct a new driveway for that 1 additional space, off-street space?
Yeah, potentially.
Okay, so we might, you know, we might want to address that. And we can look in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District whether the constraints on impervious there are enough or whether we need to do more. That was my only concern with the accessory dwelling units was like, how much impervious is this gonna enable? And if
Yeah,
we-
well, I mean, I think that it'll, I mean, the limits in the Aquifer Protection District will still apply. Because it, you know, it doesn't matter what use it is, as far as I'm recalling.
Mhm.
So it might, I mean, that doesn't mean we don't still want to address the limit that's in the Aquifer Protection District, but I don't know that that the accessory dwelling unit provision, I don't know that they have to be tied to one another.
Okay. Okay, do you want to go back to the table of use? Thank you for navigating this.
Mm-hmm. I can make it so that you can like draw on the screen too if you want.
Oh, it's okay. Then,
Next page.
yeah, major residential development, page 5-3. Yeah. What is that major residential development? It's permitted by right in the R40 and R80.
I think it's just like a subdivision, like a traditional subdivision.
Okay. And that would be subject to all the subdivision regulations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm gonna confirm that right now by looking at 7.2 for additional standards, but
Okay.
because it hasn't come up since I've been here. But let's see. Sorry, everybody's getting like whiplash from me.
No, it's okay. It's totally good.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh,
It's wired. Yeah. So it's got to just be a subdivision. It's the only thing that makes sense.
and maybe it's referencing the wrong place.
Yeah, it could be, that could be it. But there is also restrictions on like wireless communications facilities too. So,
Okay. All right. Then if we want to just scroll down, manufactured homes is allowed by right. As it's temporary, right? Temporary manufactured homes if a home's been destroyed by fire.
yeah, it's required by Mass General Law that you allow that.
Okay. And then the other uses are church or other religious purpose. I'm just reading down educational purpose, child care facility, then public parks. These all sort of are in the aquifer, like park and recreation stuff is allowed. What I was surprised by was a city administration building, fire, police station. But that is site plan approval, right?
Yeah.
With PA. And the other one was all these sort of medical thing, nursing, rest, or convalescent home, hospital, or sanitarium.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it probably would not be a good use over the aquifer. Then a police firing range, that was the other one that caught my eye. Allowed by special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. I think we want to rethink that. I don't know if you follow those big fights on the Cape to avoid firing ranges because of the lead getting into drinking water.
I know that it brings up other political and sort of NIMBY concerns, but
Yeah.
the lead hasn't been something I've followed.
Yeah. Then if you want to keep and shout out if if you're following the R40, R80 columns, the P means by right, special permit. SP means special permit by Zoning Board of Appeals. SPB is a special permit by Planning Board.
Yeah, and a dash like this
Means prohibited, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, so you can keep going. And this is all agriculture, which we really, is allowed by right.
Mm-hmm. To clarify, for those who don't know, it's allowed by right by Mass General Law.
Yeah, if you go up one, there was one thing that I think it was, there was some, okay, it was this number 4, where it's not allowed in the R80. I wondered if that was a typo.
Yeah, that is odd. I guess maybe because R80 is the aquifer area, if possible, restricting animals and livestock and, the byproduct of that was
Right, but why not on a smaller lot rather than a bigger lot? Like, I would expect the reverse would make sense.
Yeah, well, because so much of the aquifer is in 42, so I don't,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. That's because it is allowed in 40,
Okay.
not.
All
yeah,
right.
so
And it may be
that
those
is-
are all slopes in 80 and not that suitable anyways.
Yeah, but it is, I don't understand the logic either of that.
Okay.
So, but the 5 acres or over is what's protected by Mass General Law.
Oh, okay. So under isn't. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. All right. So you can keep scrolling. Yeah, then there's all this, and I guess Mass General Law also gives by right for, is it the boarding of horses and the breeding of animals, if they're a principal use.
Yeah, and it also has to, so 40A has certain qualifiers for it to meet the exemption. One of them is 5 acres. You can have it on slightly less if you can prove like income, that it's actually like a commercial operation.
Okay.
So yeah, I think the way that this is formatted is probably not something we can change.
Yep. Okay. And then retail and service, there's a lot that's not allowed.
Yeah, antique
Gift shop. That's it's weird that got singled out. Yeah, you can keep going.
Yeah.
Bed and breakfast, special permit. And then a lot of retail. I don't know what a membership club is.
I'd have to look to see how it's defined, but a lot of the times it's like fraternal organizations, that type of thing.
Oh, like the Masons or Elks or. Okay.
I like I said, I'd have to check the definition in the ordinance, but
Okay.
well, actually, I don't know because that's in retail and service. Let me just. No, sports, social, or fraternal association or organization. So, what I thought.
Okay.
So this is where we left off. So nothing else on this page is allowed.
Right. Yeah, I think the rest is what was construction. Yeah, trailers, temporary.
So there's some accessory uses.
Yep.
Which seem.
So those are things to keep in mind, when we get into the Aquifer Protection Bylaw. If this last one also had me wondering, because it's prohibited in the Aquifer Protection Bylaw, but I guess that would hold because it's more restrictive, right?
Yeah, it would.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So is there anything there that people are wondering about or want to just make sure we keep in mind?
I guess I have a general question, and that is, can you do an analysis where, if you consider the build out that could occur under the ordinances that we have and the zoning that we have, how much of the recharge area could be covered with impermeable surface? Is it possible to do that? you'd have to make a lot of assumptions, I'm sure, but if you look at the rules that say lots have to be this size and, all right, and then take just a standard house and put it there with a driveway. If you did that to the full extent of the available space, what would be the amount of recharge area that would be covered by impermeable surface? Is it possible to do that? Is it practical to do that?
I could jump in. Yeah, I mean, I think it's very possible. I don't think we are able to do it with the GIS. We don't really have GIS with the city.
You don't have GIS?
The planning department doesn't.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, I didn't really remember mute.
But I think, it would also be I think it's very possible, but it was probably something that would need to be done by a consultant. Because I think it would be pretty time intensive to build that model.
And the state did that. They funded a lot of communities, but it was like back in 2000, 2001, before I was even here. Build out analysis and all these communities thinking it would move communities to do more regulating in terms of what was allowed. And I don't know what happened to that stuff, but it was based on old municipal code, so I don't think it would be that useful, but it could give us an idea. I could see if I can dig for that. We have like no records anymore, but
I just wonder if it would be, if you think it might be useful. From my perspective, it would be useful, but and is it practical to do this? I think it would be fairly time consuming, but maybe we can get some help from the colleges in the area to get students to do it. It's a decent project, and I don't know if there's interest in doing it. I might even ask some of my colleagues at Smith if they'd be interested in getting the GIS class as a class project to do something like that. It might give us a handle of what the future could be, and it's always a could be.
yeah, and I guess it would show us what that loss of recharge would be.
Yeah, I think it is possible to model what the impact of the loss of recharge would be.
Mm-hmm.
That's not too hard.
Yeah, it's definitely doable. The city has time bond manage all of our GIS. We don't have a staff person that does it, so there's an expense to doing anything like that.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned the students.
Yeah.
It's free help. It's not always the best, but
it's it would be pretty straightforward. So I think they could handle it.
I'll pursue that.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be a great student project, because they'd have to read municipal code, understand what's allowed, and then translate that graphically to a map based on the zone.
Yeah.
And it would be limited to really the zone 2 area, right?
Right. So I think the size is doable. I've had students look at what's already there, and figure what how much impermeable surface there's out there today and what that might mean. But as we look to this question that we're dealing with, I think it's important to have some data.
The other data set that might be useful is just how much of this impervious, or what impervious would be disconnected. So it's not being conveyed to a storm system. So something about the city's storm, stormwater management system would be useful.
That would be tough though that I have a harder time wrapping my head around, because you have to figure out what's actually going to flow to the street, to the storm system, versus what would infiltrate.
I think that would be complicated.
Yeah.
But another factor too, in looking at percent cover of impervious, also looking at the soil layers and superficial geology, looking at where the non-built areas are over infiltrating soils versus over more clay soils. I mean, that's another layer of complexity, but
Well, I think we have a
we
lot
want
of
to
that
get something else.
information already.
Mhm.
I think we know pretty well where the clay is and where the sand is, and we have a sort of depositional model for how all these deposits were created as the ice retreated and the lake grew. What happened that way, and I think that's fairly well understood. There are things like buried eskers that are hard to know exactly where they go, but I think that we could do that because we've dealt a lot with that issue. I don't know what we do with the Maloney well, and the fact that a lot of the land around, most of the land around the well is, not recharge area for the well. And do we put it in? It's a zone 2 only in the subsurface, not at the surface. So that's always been a problem, and I don't know how we deal with it. But we just saw the impact of that when you added that layer showing all the zone 2s. It really expanded the areas that you'd want to protect, where you really need to protect all those areas.
And so I confirmed with Clay that they have, they're headed toward abandoning the Maloney well, because it's going to be like $20 million estimate for a filtration plant to deal with the manganese. And he said you never want to walk away from a supply, but there's so many other places that money needs to be invested. And it was, the city stopped using it 20 years ago. So I forget what the status is, but I have it in a note in the bylaw that I'm hoping I can, or the ordinance, I'm hoping that I can pull up in the screen share. Is that, Joanna, is that you or is that Allison sharing?
Don't
Sorry,
believe I'm sharing.
Called out your child. I'm sharing. What? Do you want me to take this down?
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm going to see if I can at least pull up the track changes ordinance. All right, let's see if I can do this. I'm hoping this is it. Doesn't look like it. Do I not have permission to share?
No, you do.
Okay. Yeah, now the zoning map is showing. My track changes document isn't though. Allison, why don't I send it to you?
So nothing at all was sharing on our side. Are you just not seeing it in your like options?
It's not in my selection here. I mean, I can pull up File Explorer, but
Do you have two?
Oh wait, maybe I can do it here.
There you
Okay,
go.
so do you have two computer screens? Sometimes that helps.
No. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Okay, so here I wanted to just follow on this, that the Maloney well was taken off 20 years ago.
Oh, wait. We can see File Explorer. We're not seeing the document.
Oh, you can't see the document.
No. So yeah, if you email it, I'll pull it up.
Okay. That was weird because I did File Explorer and then also. Right, it's gonna take a second. Is it okay if we use Zoom next time?
Yeah, the city doesn't have a Zoom account, so if you set it up,
Yeah, I'll set it up for sure.
I'll actually know because it's a city entity. It would have to be on the Google Meet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but if you send me stuff ahead of time, I'll just have it and be able to pull it up. Or next time you're around, we can do a dry run and see.
We can meet in person.
Or that, yeah.
Or that. Did you get it?
Not yet. It might just take a sec. It's a track change document, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me try one other thing. Yeah. It's bizarre. It doesn't want to, it's not showing me everything.
You can't just pull it up on your screen and.
I'm going to close a bunch of things.
Because you can share your entire screen and then open it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I can't get back to you without minimizing it, and then it pulls up everybody.
Right. I guess. Do you need to see us while you're presenting it?
No, but so I have it full on screen right now, but I have to go back to you to share screen, right?
No, start sharing screen and then open it.
Entire screen?
Yep. Yeah, so now we can see the same exact thing you're seeing. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. All right, great. All right, so you can see the track changes document.
Yep.
Okay. So, so the Maloney well is been moved to an inactive source. So it's not being sampled anymore. There were a lot of requirements for sampling the well. that Mike, you probably know better than anyone, that you did for like 20 years. And so the water department's gonna probably leave the Maloney well as inactive, and then likely abandon it altogether. And you know, that sort of price tag, it's just, you know, an estimated cost of 20 million, but it needs to be invested in other places. And he acknowledged that it would be good to have as an emergency source, but given the other investments that need to be made in the system, they're making some choices. So I think that has bearing on what this Aquifer Protection Overlay District covers. The 2012 version tried to set it up as two parts, you know, the Aquifer Protection District 1 and then 2 related to the Maloney well. So this ordinance, it was adding a whole nother piece to the ordinance. And I didn't do that here because of what's happening. And so I hope that makes sense. I know, Bob, you were saying that you didn't think it should be abandoned.
I
But-
definitely think it should be abandoned.
Yeah.
Without question, but, and of course, if they abandon it, does that mean that Northampton can reopen their landfill?
That's a good question. Oh my God. Yeah,
Pandora's box.
right. It definitely sounds like that. So I am proposing here to just go forward with the idea that we're talking about that lower part of the aquifer that pertains to the Brook Street, Brook Street, Nonotuck, and Hendrick Street wells. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just had some thoughts in these first sections about, you know, just streamlining the language here. And what I can do is share this with you after the meeting. There's a lot further down that is a mess right now. So don't look at those parts, because I was trying to figure out under the prohibited or permitted prohibited uses what those should contain. And I think we can really streamline that based on the table of use regulations that we just went through, that there may be things that we, you know, that we can just streamline how it's said in that section below. And then here, it, you know, I think this is a really old language about that the district is established within the city and aquifer recharge area, which has been defined by standard geologic and hydrologic investigations, consists of land lying within the primary and secondary aquifer recharge of groundwater aquifers or within 1/2 mile radius of wells, which now or may in the future provide public water supply within the boundaries of the city. I don't know that that's the right way to say that. Like, I mean, it's based on the zone 1 and the zone 2 as delineated by Mass DEP, but I don't know that there's 1/2 mile radius of wells.
I think that historically what happened was that it defaulted to the 1/2 mile until the study was done showing, the modeling was done showing where the recharge actually occurred, and then that redefined it. So I think that was sort of a default value until the zone 2 could be determined by the modeling that had to be done to determine it.
Okay, so we can update this without any does that sound all right?
Yeah.
Okay. This, this was there were some updates made, I think, when the zoning bylaw was updated. Like, I think Stuart Beckley put this in. Bob, I saw that he picked out some of the stuff that had been recommended earlier and put a few things in that I think just weren't, not very controversial and made good sense. But this is sort of where the burden of proof lies if a boundary's in dispute. And then here, this is a recommendation out of the Mass DEP model, where the boundary line of the district divides the lot or parcel. The requirements established shall apply to the entire lot or parcel.
Yeah, I think that's been established. And I know in BayPAC, we had discussions about this with regard to some of the Westfield things that were going on. And, if there was any part of the parcel that was on the aquifer, then the whole parcel was impacted.
Right.
Right, and especially given that the boundary line of the districts based on modeling, and I've taken a good lesson from you, Bob, that, you could just be over that boundary and it's still, contributing to drinking water supply.
Yeah, I mean, the modeling can give you any answer you want,
Yeah. Okay.
unfortunately.
And then there are many definitions that were out of the model that some of these came from, I had at one point looked at the Cape and pulled in some language. I think I flagged where that's from, some of the, Brewster, Mass. That's on the Cape, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So this was defining normal household quantity of hazardous material, what that is. So this has a, far more defines what toxic or hazardous material is in the definitions here than what was in the ordinance. And, a lot of these are out of Mass DEP's model, the junkyard, landfill, Mass DEP, Mass General Law. There's a lot in here about industrial and commercial uses. And I don't know whether they relate to what is going on in the Zone 2 for Easthampton. So maybe that's a question mark, that one.
Well, now that you got rid of the Maloney well, it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah, me personally, I didn't
I'm
get rid of
blaming you,
it.
Patty.
I was just the
The
communicator.
messenger. You're the messenger.
Right. Open dump petroleum product, defining what that is, and then potential drinking water sources. And one of the things that happens is once we work more in the other part of the ordinance, I typically go back into these definitions to see what really needs defining and what might be excessive or even what's missing that we added to the ordinance. But these are just sort of standards I pulled in from the Mass DEP model, from work I did in South Hadley, and then from some of the Cape examples that I've been looking at. Recharge areas. Now, we don't have a delineated Zone 3, but so we might want to think about that. If we want to keep that, but and then there was
The sole source aquifer has a Zone 3, right? I think the boundaries of that.
It does.
Well, I think it covers that.
Oh,
Sure.
Okay, I'll look at that. Because South Hadley has an actual delineated zone 3. Because when the modeling happened, USGS actually did the work of defining. It wasn't just Mass DEP. USGS went and did a lot of sort of ground truthing there. So I was going back up to look at, there was, I think it was called, what did they used to call this? The groundwater table, or high groundwater table or something like that. But I think it's better to say seasonal high water table.
Yeah.
And I pull this from New Hampshire.
Yeah.
You may be familiar with this already, Bob. Because it's always changing. Oh, I know what it was. It was historical. That's what's in the ordinance. And historical, like, it's changing all the time now. So I don't know that that definition is useful anymore. Secondary containment, that's where you have, we're asking that, you know, it accommodate at least 110% of the volume of the container that has a substance in it that needs to be contained. And then septage, that word is used. Sludge. So one of the things I was adding to the prohibitions was, you know, prohibition of using any sanitary sludge on landscaping for any reason. Because we were talking last time about all the PFAS that's in the sludge,
Yeah.
what did you call it? Milorganite that was marketed?
Milorganite,
Yeah.
Milwaukee's sewage sludge.
Yeah. Okay. And then some adjustments here. I think that's a Mass DEP change. Very small quantity generator. And, you know, I don't think this is even you know, I don't think there's anything. Like automobile service stations are not allowed in the R40 or R80. So that might be another one that, you know, we question. And I have a question about keeping some of these where I think we want to maybe go with the definitions that Mass DEP has on Zone 1 and Zone 2, since the boundaries have been delineated that way. And then there is this definition of Zone 3 I used in South Hadley. So we could call that what was secondary recharge area, is that right?
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah. Okay. And then the use regulations, I started, you know, just looking at that table of use and pulling some stuff in here under permitted uses. And then this was something that was flagged earlier. Any work to enlarge, repair, or maintain the drinking water supply ought to be a permitted use. And I will not wade into prohibited uses because this all needs work. But I did start going at it with a bunch of suggestions. But I think if we're focused on that part of the aquifer, that the R40 and the R80, then we might be able to streamline some of this.
So Patty, I need to go.
Yep, I saw the time. Yep.
But so you're going to send us a copy of that?
Sure. Yeah, but don't go
think,
past that, past permitted uses, because it's a mess.
Don't worry, but I think it would be help. I mean, for me, you know, I really need to look at it to sort of decide what might be worth throwing out. And I do think if you look at the The sole source aquifer delineation, you'll see it does include zone 3. I'm pretty sure that's true, but you should look at that. And
Okay. And are you looking at an EPA source for that map?
you know, I think I got it from MassGIS. I mean, I'm just looking at their delineation and then putting it on the landscape and seeing it goes outside the area of the aquifer and goes up the sides of the hills, clearly into the till and bedrock.
Okay.
So they were including that as feeding into the aquifer and therefore should be protected.
Okay. All right. Any other last thoughts from anyone?
Well, not this time.
So for me, you know, as we move forward with this, I will get a copy. I think I have the R40 and R80 areas designated on a map somewhere, so I can look at that. But that to me, we have to put that together, and then I'll think a little bit more about the impact of taking the Maloney out of it. It takes a lot of our problems away.
Mm-hmm.
And so until we need the well, I guess it's going to be easier. But yeah, so I think this is good progress. So I thank you.
Yeah. And, you know, take a look at that table of use regulations. I would like to say that I don't know how we do this, Allison and Joanna, but like the firing range, if there's a way to make that a prohibited use in the aquifer, it just seems to make sense.
I would also say yes to that. Many years ago, I did some work over at Westover, and they have a gunnery range there at Westover, and there's a lot of contamination right there.
Right.
A lot of stuff, all kinds of stuff, things you wouldn't, not just lead.
Yeah.
And it may be because of what they were shooting, but yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
I'm sorry I have to leave, but
yeah.
might we schedule another meeting?
Yeah. I'll let you know.
Just let me know. Yeah, that works fine for me.
Yeah.
And you know, thanks to everyone about doing this on Google, which is not one of my. Every time I do one of these things now, it's a different platform. But you guys are great. You're able to do it really well. So thank you for that.
Not me.
Everybody did it pretty good. It all worked out.
Yeah, we got on at least. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Huge accomplishment.
And Allison was able to somehow get all these things to happen somehow. Yeah. But right. I share your frustration when you're, you know, I'm a Zoom kind of guy. I do Zoom all the time. And then if I go to Teams, I can't even do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I got it now with Allison's coaching.
All right. Well, thanks again. And hopefully we'll see everybody again soon.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Nope. We lose everybody.
I think so.
I guess we'll adjourn the meeting then.
I guess we don't really have a choice at this point. No quorum. So yeah, meeting adjourned.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.